Howdy, howdy, everyone. Lacey here. I'm trying a new setup. I realize when I'm talking to people, I kind of talk with my whole body, and I kind of can't do that when I'm like sitting down. And I've just been realizing that, yeah, I move more, and it's a part of like my flair, if you will. I'm not feeling very good though. Feeling a little bit under the weather. It's like Ugh, it's so dumb. But, 'tis the season for everyone coming down with crappy, crappy, crappy stuff. Good news, I'm on the mend, but bleh. All right, enough about me. Lacey, what is going on? This is so it's post-election time. I know a lot of astrologers were thinking that Kamala Harris was going to be chosen, but that's only because I heard several say that if her chart was off by 3 minutes, then she wouldn't be the winner. So her chart must be off by 3 minutes, is my conclusion. So then now we have a choice, right? If Kamala would have won, then you would have a whole bunch of the country, pissed about it. And now that Trump was the winner, right now you have a bunch of coastal blue cities, like, obviously hurt and pissed about it, right? So, what do? The first time Trump won in 2016, I was livid, livid. I could not understand how anyone would want to vote for someone who said sort of all those things, like I'm thinking of the Access Hollywood video when he said, grab him by the pussy and stuff like that. And just all the things that he had said that I was like, there's no way anybody who believes in Jesus would see this man when he thinks his mic is turned off. There's no way anybody's going to see that dude and think, oh, yeah, that's the guy who needs to lead our country. I couldn't have fathomed it, right? And why am I bringing that up? I'm bringing that up because I know people, I love people who would vote for him who are, claimers to be followers of Jesus, right? And so a part of me was like, how is that possible, right? Um, but then, shoe on the other foot, basically everything is a cycle. Everything is two sides, same coin, right? That's really what's going on. So I want to stop this coin from spinning, right? I want to stop the this or that, right? The divide, the out of balance fucking scales, right? Now, how does one do that? How does one get off this crazy train, if you will? Well, good news. Pluto going through Aquarius is going to give us some darker perspective. It's going to give us some perspectives on people who maybe have claimed to be humanitarian, and they're going to get uncovered for being maybe less than humanitarian, right? I'm kind of thinking of like Hobby Lobby. Josiah showed me something recently where they had a whole bunch of artifacts and cuneiforms, like thousands of them, that they had squirreled away, and now it's coming to light that they have all of these, and I'm really excited to see. I hope we get to read them and see what they had, this whole time. So in my mind, though, I don't really think of that as the bad guy. I wouldn't think of Hobby Lobby as the bad guy, for this reason. But it's just something coming to light. They had something hidden, scrolled away. They were saying that they were tiles from another country. Well, yes, they're tiles from another country, but they are artifacts, right? That they had. And I honestly can't ever like hit anyone for being interested in archaeology and wanting to hold something old. I mean, when I go to the Portland Museum and I saw ancient Egyptian, artifacts, I was like floored, right? I was like, oh my God, I swoon. So I get you in this way, Hobby Lobby. And hey, here's a bridge, right? No, I am definitely for, I'm definitely pro-choice, right? I'm definitely not in the Hobby Lobby camp in that way, right? I definitely think that you should have access to birth control. Why wouldn't you? That's dumb to not, right? But on that other side of that coin, they think that I was dumb for not thinking that a blastula of cells dividing in a womb isn't a baby, right? And I'm like, no, it's cells anyway. But see, two sides, same coin, ultimately, right? You're going to argue about that. So how do you get off that, right? So, hey, something I agree with you with, Hobby Lobby, or something that I think that you're interesting for having is artifacts. Me too. I would definitely want to see those. I don't know that I would want to hoard them, but I wouldn't know it until now. So here's the thing, as Pluto is going through and uncovering these hidden things, these hidden secrets, it's in a fixed sign, Aquarius, right? Fixed signs. It takes a while for things to dawn on us. If you have a sun here, like I do, then what you are fixed on is perspective. Well, what does everyone think, right? Libras are telling me the social stuff. Gemini, other sign, air signs are telling me the stories, right, going around. And then my Aquarius goes, well, what does everyone think, right? And she's trying to fix the idea so that socially, oh, this is how I see how everyone can be involved here, right? Aquarius wants inclusivity, wants everyone to be involved as much as possible, unless you're being an asshole or undisciplined. And then we're like, fuck you, whatever. We do that. But that's what's up. So it's okay for things to dawn on you. It's okay to not have known this already, right? It's okay that up until now, Hobby Lobby wasn't faulted, right? Until now. And now it's like, oh, maybe don't do that, right? Like, oh, I didn't realize, right? It's okay for things to dawn on us that we didn't realize before. And I think that's the crux of this ultimately, right? This bridging stuff. So you can't know what you don't know, right? You can have like premonitions about something, but sometimes things don't dawn or hit you until they do, And so I think we're going to be uncovering things that maybe didn't dawn on or occur to people before. Now, to mention this, I had something recently. Normally I hide things on a ground level. Okay, so I have a Venus in Pisces and she's in my 12th house. A part of the way that I undo myself in romantic situations is I don't talk about it, right? I will keep it hidden and covered because what I don't want to do is hurt feelings, right? So if I'm attracted to someone, what I don't want to do is talk about it because I don't want to hurt feelings, right? How do you tell your spouse, right? That, oh, hey, I'm attracted to somebody else, right? Normally you don't. You keep that shit hidden. If you're a, 12th houser, right? People who have Venus in the karma houses, right? So 12th, 8th, and 4th, right? 4th, 8th, 12th, those houses, right? They're water houses. Even if you have like an air sign, earth sign going through there, they have sort of a watery, intuitive, right? So if you have a lot of planets in those houses, right, then you're going to have intuitive knowings, right? I don't know how I knew. I just knew. Duh, anybody would know. That's how they feel sometimes, right? People who have planets in that house, in those houses, or people who have planets in the water signs can also have intuitive hits. I know a lot of people who are into like music and things that connect without verbiage, without words, right? Water does that. And those karmic houses, those intuitive houses, the flow of water, right? That's what it's doing. So I have a Venus in a watery 12th house. It's a confusing house as it is, right? It's well, I know I should not like them because they were mean to me, but how could you really be mean to someone, right? Like, yeah, and you'll kind of keep taking somebody else's crap because you're like, oh, but they don't know, right? That's what a Venus in 12th house kind of does. And then people who are hurt and incarcerated and institutionalized come seeking you because you are kindness, right? Venus is kindness and she's pleasure. And in the sign of Pisces, she's really good at it, right? So then you become friends with people who maybe don't have they're vampires. Maybe they want to suck that off of you. They want to suck the love off of you, right? Anyway, so dawning, this is what I'm coming to, right? What I'm coming to is it's okay for things to dawn on you. It's okay to learn. Hopefully you learn from the mistakes where they didn't dawn on you the first time, right? For example, I recently had a situation where I had something I don't know how to not give details, but something happened to me. Somebody came to me for a reading, and then in that reading, something sort of happened. It was like their intuition, his intuition was like merging with mine in a way, right? And I could feel sort of something happening there that was on a whoa, this is bridging some sort of gap into more romantic, kind of vibes in this one reading. And it was really interesting. And I had not experienced that before. And so I started then the next day having these like massive thoughts about this person. Now I haven't had any. I mean, if you watch the Venus trifecta, you'll know that I've already admitted that I usually only have one person that I'm like really thinking about in that way. And so to have this other thing happen where, oh my gosh, I'm thinking about this new person in a way that I haven't thought about them before. I had to go tell my husband, right? I had these thoughts. Now, normally I would get mad at myself for having these thoughts, these fantasies, right? I would get mad at myself and I would be like, oh, how dare you? Almost in a way, right? Like that's how it would feel. And then I would guilt myself. But this time it was ground level. I went, oh, I wonder if that person's thinking of me. So another thing that happens with like Pisces people specifically, I think, um, is that you pick up on what other people are thinking or feeling. So sometimes I'll get thoughts of a person and it comes out of nowhere. And I'm learning that that could be the other person thinking of me, right? Where I'm like, oh, dang, right? Like that's another person maybe thinking. So I think that that's what was happening. I think the next day, I think that person was thinking of me, and then that's what triggered my thinking of them. And because they had physical touch with me, not like in a sexy way at all, it was nothing like that, right? It was just a, concentrate, kind of hold hands thing, concentrate, but it was spiritual, but which is also Venus and Pisces, she likes that. But still, it was like I had never entertained those kinds of thoughts before. And then they came in. So all that to say, normally I would blame myself the next day for thinking of these things. And I would feel fear. I would feel like, oh, I can't tell anyone about this because I'm going to get in trouble, right? When I was younger, I would tell adults, these are my thoughts. And they'd be like, no, don't have those thoughts. And I'd be like, oh, don't have those thoughts, right? It was like, nope, that's just bad and forbidden. And you're like, okay, just bad and forbidden, and so you never think about them. You never get to explore them in a safe way. So ground level, I go tell my husband, what's up? I'm like, oh, hey, normally I'd be like hiding this from you, but I think I've learned now that that is the problem. I have to tell you everything, right? On the ground level. This is what's happening ground level. So that was something that Pluto in action was doing, uncovering, and then it uncovered immediately. Now I know through years of living that, oh, this has dawned on me that this is what happens. Hey, I'm going to fix this here on out. This is what I want to do. I notice this. I notice this fear. I should say my fears immediately when I get them. Like, ooh, I fear this. And that's how you can start about it too. Like, we've always had the thing of, between my husband and I, we've always had the thing to be like, hey, I'm afraid to tell you something right now. When you're ready to hear me out on this thing, can you let me know? Which works really, really well for me and really, really well for my husband too. So please do that. And then make a safe space. And then you can talk about things that you're like, normally I would be, and then let them walk with you. Oh my gosh, the insight that my husband had when I told him about this new weird attraction, he was like, he had so much great advice. It was so good that I was like, oh my God, I'm so glad I told you this. It was so good. It was so non-condemning. It was so non-judgmental. And it was so like, yeah, these are my thoughts. Oh, it was a relief. I was like, oh my God, I'm so glad we're having this discussion. And then it helped him to open up more about things that he was like, oh, hey, now that you say that, I too, things are dawning on me physically, right? He has an Aquarius rising. It takes a while for things to physically dawn on him that he likes, right? Or that he wants to be in the proximity of. It takes him a while. So like, that's what's up. So then we had just this great advice going on for each other. It was so good. It was so healing. And then it prepares for the new. So now that you have said, oh, hey, Pluto is uncovering this for me, Aquarius, or fixed signs. It's going to be squaring you fixed signs. So Pluto Leo, right? Aquarius Leo, things are going to be being uncovered for you. That's what's up. And if the more you try to hide it and the more you try to control it, right, the worse it will be for you. I've heard, like, I think of that Depeche Mode song of, policy of truth, whatever. I'm dating myself, but delivering your youth on the policy of truth, right? But I found that telling the truth breaks the spell. So if the spell is to keep me in darkness or to keep me in fear, or to keep me in struggle, to keep me in suffering, right? If that is the point of staying in the darkness, I think the point of the darkness is really to let things grow. And then when they come to light, right? Like, think of a seed. It's not bad for being in the darkness. That's where it's going to grow. And then when it starts to bud and it starts to show its leaves, then you're like, oh, it's this kind of a plant. And then you don't get mad at the plant for being the kind of plant that it is. Even if it's a weed, you're like, oh, that's a weed. This whole time I thought it was going to be something good. Pull the weed. You know what I mean? Like, darkness isn't bad. Shadow work, looking at those things, is not bad, right? It's when you stay there, right? It's when you are like, oh, I can't show anyone that I have this weed here. There's supposed to be avocados only growing here, right? I can't, oh my God, this weed, even though meanwhile, everyone's got weeds, right? Just pull the weed, just be down for not knowing that it was weed. There are all kinds of different plants that grow up and then they're like posers, right? They're leaves. They mimic leaves to make it look like it's a rose, but it's not. It's a vine that's never going to grow a rose, like, there's stuff like that. There's plants like that. But when you know that it's a weed, pull the weed, be down with that. Be down with, oh, I didn't know this is a weed. You know what I mean? So Pluto says, can you compost? Now, when you pull the weed, now you can put it in the compost, right? And you can churn it and it'll break down and it'll become dirt, right? So there's a whole process here. There's a whole cycle here. So just because something comes up that is like, ooh, that's dark, or, oh, I don't like that. You know what I mean? Pull it up, expose it to the light, heat, right? Heat can break it down. Yeah, I'm rambling mostly because I don't feel super great, but I guess it's just more like Pluto talk, more uncovering what's going on with Pluto going through Aquarius. And then Scorpio, Taurus, y'all are also going to be getting some squares from good old Pluto there. Going to make you have to do something, right? So I encourage you, if you have to do something, expose the truth, say the truth. When other people come to you and they're exposing a truth, right? It's okay to be like, oh, wait, I'm not ready to receive this truth. I know it's going to be hard, right? Can we talk about this on a later day? Put a pin in it. Now you have to still talk about it. The trick is you can't just keep sweeping it under the rug. That doesn't clean anything, right? You still got to clean, you know what I mean? So it's like, oh, I don't want to clean today. Can we talk about this at this time? And then prepare yourself. Then you can mentally prepare and you can be on the same page as the other person who you maybe have to talk to, but there's ways to do it. So if your person who you voted for, I guess for a full circle, if the person you voted for didn't get elected, right, then find the bridges. Find the places that are being uncovered. Maybe they will have things that they come up with that they're like, oh, I didn't know that voting for this person would create this problem. Instead of blaming the person and being like, see, you did this, you voted for this, right? That doesn't get anywhere. That doesn't heal, that doesn't solve, that doesn't make the world a better place. No one goes, oh, I'm so glad that you blamed me. That's awesome. No one ever that you've ever known ever goes, oh my God, thank you for blaming me, ever. So don't do it to them. So you have to transmute it. Yes, you have to transmute it. You have to grow. You have to not extremify yourself. Pluto brings extremes, right? I was having dreams about arguments that I would have with those who voted for the opposition, right? Who voted for Trump, who maybe I didn't, I'm not a huge fan of, right? I imagine having arguments with them like, see," like all the things that I think are gonna come up, and nothing good came of that, you know? It only made me feel angsty and divisive against them, right? Now, just because you're trying to transmute and trying to build a bridge does not mean you're accepting that vote. Not does not mean that you're accepting all of their behavior. But being right, being correct doesn't help either. As a person who is very Virgo, has a lot of Virgo tendencies, who's borderline perfect, all right, because that's what we are. So, as a borderline perfect person who can literally look at other people and be like, "Oh, why are you doing this wrong?" Right? As a person who's good at that, whatever. I can tell you, yeah, you can be right and you can be separated and you can be alone for being right. Like, is that what you want? Sometimes, yes. Yes, I would rather be alone, but you know, where's the bridge? What's a bridge you can build? You don't have to build a bridge to like the most conservative person. Maybe you just build a bridge with a person who builds a bridge with them, right? Just do it where you can. Don't force yourself. Just whatever is being uncovered, look at it, right? And then make it safe for it to be uncovered. Please make it safe for things to be uncovered, for things to come to light, because then growth can happen and then organizing can happen. You don't know what's growing until, it starts to show its fruit, right? When it starts to show its fruit, if it's something that's bearing fruit or flowers or nothing at all that you don't want, it's taking up root space and clogging out the good stuff, then you can pull it out. But you can't pull something out of somebody else's garden without them saying yes, right? That's the spiritual way of things, right? You can't. So just because you're uncovering something in someone else, if they're not recognizing it, you can't pull it. Bottom line, hard news, you know? You can't make someone realize something, right? It has to come on its own. And you have to be a safe space to be like, yeah, you're pointing that out as a weed. I'm seeing that as a weed, right? Like, yeah. So, as Pluto is going through Aquarius and it goes in November 20th, ah, ah, uh, a lot of big changes, a lot of things going to be happening, a lot of things being uncovered. Will you be a safe space? Um, and then my last thought is, I've been looking at charts and death charts coming up. So I think that this winter I'm going to be going to some funerals, I think, which is like a bummer. But what another thing to know with astrology and with Pluto going over my sun, definitely I'm going to be dealing with those themes of death and rebirth and being around family members and uncovering things that are going to be uncomfortable. But I'm going to be ready. I'm going to be ready to hear things, ask them to repeat things, reflect back. So if somebody says something to you, my daughter does this, she does this well. If somebody says something outrageous, like, well, it's not my fault, all Black people this, it's not my fault, all immigrants this, right? Say that again. Ask them to repeat themselves. Usually when people repeat themselves, they'll hear it again the second time and they kind of hear, oh, hey, you hear that now, you hear. Sometimes it just takes a while for things to dawn on people, okay? Let them say it more than once. Let them hear themselves say it. Don't have to be right. Just ask them to repeat themselves. Say that one more time. Say that out loud, right? They usually catch themselves. That's like a pretty safe way, to do that. So just like a little pro tip. Breathing. Okay, air signs, right? This is another thing. Pluto going through an air sign. Give yourself breaths. Give yourself space. Give yourself time. That is a gift, right? It's okay to not have all the answers right now. So give yourself time. Give yourself space, right? For things to come about, to dawn on you, to dawn on others, okay? The things that get uncovered may not be recognized right away, right? It's subtle at first, usually. And then as you give it more breaths, then It creates a space of freedom. It creates a space of expansive. It creates space, right? So don't forget to breathe, right? Give yourself space to breathe. So these are my tips. I went all over the place. I suppose the bottom line, or something that I've really been thinking about, is the truth breaks the spell. I have learned that if you always say the truth, not the extreme, not like, well, right? If you feel the in there, then you know it's marred by something else. It's marred by me trying to be right. So if you give yourself breath and you ask questions and you listen, right? And you make this a pattern to sit presently with yourself, right? Especially you Aquarians, really be practicing that meditation right now, bringing that healing to yourself, right? Bringing that healing to yourself, right? Being open to healing thoughts, healing words, because you can't fix anything from a non healed space, right? It only makes more suffering. So be from a healed space. And you're beautiful. You're wonderful. You're a fantastic person. I know you are because you're watching me, and I attract fantastic people. So if you have any questions, or if you're finding things like, oh my God, girl, Pluto, yes, me too. What's your experience with truth breaking spells? Truth has always been how I break spells, or even how I prevent myself from doing something I'm going to regret, right? Sometimes I'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm thinking this, and then sometimes it can prevent me from doing something really extreme. So a practice is practice truth. Practice saying what is when things get uncovered. Not the extreme, not the I want you to hurt, not the yes, I accept you blaming me and wanting to hurt me, right? Those are extremes. We don't want to extreme. We just want to say what is, right? I'm reminded of Star Wars when Princess Leia is talking to Rey, right? And she says, don't tell me what you think, basically, or what you think I'm going to think. Tell me what is. And that is what I will leave you with. Tell me what is, right? Just say what is. And it's okay to not have all the answers. In fact, if you come at it with like a softer thing, like these are my thoughts, I'm okay with being wrong. These are my observations. I'm okay with, flexing or I'm okay with listening to you, but I'm still going to keep to this thought unless you change my mind, right? That's okay too. It's okay to still maintain your thoughts, even if somebody else is coming in. Usually if somebody's coming at you with extremes, then you're speaking from a place of, wow, Pluto. Extremes. All right. That's what I've got. I am so not feeling good. I hope that you like maybe this new thing. I'm hoping to like move around more. Not so much today because I have less pep. I'm not peppy because I don't feel good, but I still look cute. Whatever. Alrighty. I will talk to you all later. Thanks for joining me.